Hi, this is Craig Molson with my AEP 855 final project with the article review. The first article that I read was called Gender Equality in Higher Education Must Be Made a Global Priority. The article discusses many of the major factors in countries around the world being the same that have made it more difficult for women to work their way into higher education positions than men. It's definitely a global problem. It's not just something that's here in the United States. Approximately 1 in 5 university professors in England are female. That number is up from 3% in 1989, but nowhere close to parity. This number is actually one of the higher numbers in the world. Many countries are far worse than this. Some of the barriers that have contributed to these numbers are failure to recognize uh, the women who are wanting to get into this position. They don't tend to self-promote themselves the way that men do, therefore are not recognized for these positions. Um, Another factor would be identifying and nurturing a woman's talents in this area, and again, that goes back to them not being adept to self-promote themselves. And men are being viewed as more suited for leadership positions than women are. That's still a problem today. Um, in Sweden, women make up 43% of vice chancellor positions. Sweden has an appointment system that has made a difference for them, with more accountability, with chancellors being appointed by the state rather than by individuals. It also talked about when women are building their careers, it is impossible to expect women on leadership paths to continue to have the role in the household of a traditional woman. Leadership takes an additional toll on women due to the sexism and discrimination that they face. This can be harmful to a person's health, social life, and general well-being. Therefore, many women experience burnout before they achieve their goal. The next article that I read was Gender Equity in Education, Is It Possible? This article discusses that despite genuine efforts by parents and teachers to create a better environment for girls in the education system, barriers persist and gender inequality continues to flourish. It also said many studies have shown that teachers often treat boys differently than girls. Several of the examples that it had given were boys receive more attention than girls and are given more time to talk in class. Girls are 3 times less likely to be praised by a teacher. Boys are more likely to be assigned to higher level ability groups, and girls are 2 times less likely to be called on in class by the teacher. The article suggests that this problem isn't as much with the teachers as it is with their training. Teachers can't teach what they weren't taught. Efforts to educate teachers are all but ignored in many colleges. The efforts to correct gender bias is directed at working teachers and not at the universities where it should be. Other factors involved with this cultural stereotypes reduce self-esteem and confidence in females. There is also evidence of standardized tests being biased towards boys, and therefore they score better on the tests. And then as a result of scoring better on these tests, millions of dollars of scholarship money is lost by females. Some of the challenges with gender equality that a leader will face in a school, these two articles that I've talked about so far tie together on totally different levels. Obviously, one is post-secondary education, and one is talking, as young as preschool through high school. Um, Gender equality needs to become a priority for universities uh, in order to prepare teachers to come out and teach in our younger levels. We need to have people in the universities that are making it a high priority to teach and train teachers before they come out. Um, Preparing students in a non-discriminatory way, that's a challenge that our local principals will have and need to continue to work on. I think it's just something that goes on in the schools that, and as teachers, we're not even aware of it. But I'm sure I've been guilty of it assigning a certain task to a female or male based on that fact alone. Um, we also, as principals, need to make sure we're hiring based on who is best for the job. I certainly don't think we need to just start hiring women into certain positions just because they're women. I think we just need to make sure we're hiring the best individual for the position, whether they're male or female. We need to make sure we're helping teachers understand how important the impact that can be made on a student by making a joke, sexist comment, anything of that nature to a student could have a long-lasting impact, and we need to make sure teachers are aware of that. The next article I read was socioeconomic status in education. Socioeconomic status is the measure of the influence that the social environment has on individuals, families, communities, and schools. The article discussed the effects of socioeconomic status on a child's cognitive development and, in turn, their education. Factors involved with low socioeconomic status were things such as lead poisoning, fetal alcohol syndrome, premature birth, crime in the neighborhood, domestic violence. Some of the results of these things, you find higher rates of depression, self-esteem and confidence issues, learned helplessness, juvenile delinquencies. The article also discussed some relations between school outcomes and SES. Schools in low SES neighborhoods have fewer resources, less money, things like that. Their teachers tend to have less training and therefore are paid less. There's usually lack of support from the student's home, low education level of the parents, and the students tend to fall farther behind in the summer months because of their home life. The next article was education and socioeconomic status. This article discussed several of the issues in education that are related to SES, such as family resources, school environment, academic achievement, and psychological health. A child's reading competency can be corrected with the home environment by the number of books in the home correlated to that. Many studies have shown reading skills to be directly related to being read to when they are young. The article talks about the push to keep teachers in low socioeconomic status, and an example of this is that 27% of math teachers in low SES areas majored in math in college as opposed to 43% in more affluent districts. So clearly the majority of the teachers in some of these buildings are not highly trained and therefore are probably not giving the best education possible. Students from low SES schools entered high school 3.3 grade levels behind students from higher SES schools. The dropout rate is 16.7% in low SES environments as opposed to 3.2% for the higher environments. Behavior problems are more than twice as likely from a child of a low socioeconomic standing. Some of the challenges that come along with this as leaders, as far as SES is concerned, we need to make sure we're being supportive of all students, having positive interactions with all students, and find positives to focus on. Too many times we find ourselves stereotyping and not giving a kid the chance that they deserve. We need to reinforce this to our teachers, how important this interaction is. And again, just one negative interaction can cause a lot of problems for a young person. We need to be compassionate towards individual situations. Sometimes we forget what some of these kids are dealing with at home and the impact that has on them at school. There's no reason for us to not be keeping some of those things in mind when we're dealing with these kids. But at the same time, we need to make sure we have expectations for all the students in order for them to break the trend that's been set in their family. It's up to them, and it's got to be expected of them. The last article I read is Racial Inequality in Education Hurts America's Global Competitiveness. This article discusses how racial inequality may be holding America back as far as preparing students for the global economy. Students are falling farther and farther behind many other countries in their math and reading skills, and it's most evident in African American and Latino students. Of the 32% Native American, and 15% Latino. U.S. ranks 32nd in math and 17th in reading in the world. The article goes on to discuss how the American education system produces a large achievement gap based on racial and ethnicity and a pipeline to prison for youth of color. It discusses the problem for this is allowing, one of the problems for this is allowing inferior schools to continue the same trends, and that we need more investment in these schools to change this. A few of the challenges that come with racial equality would be making sure as a principal or leader you understand different cultures and being aware of those cultural dynamics in the building. I've never been in a building that has a wide array of culture in it, but I think understanding those dynamics is very important. And also, again, not making assumptions based on race and not allowing others to